Welcome back to Herp House Rock. We got another great episode for you today. We have JD and Marita from Deadly Tarantula Girl and JD. Deadly Tarantula Girl and JD. They're on here, and we're going to be talking reptiles and tarantulas and all different sorts of crazy stories and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Boom. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, right?
That's awesome.
Ooh. All right. So, yeah, we usually start from the beginning. I want to hear about the first tarantula and what the hell you were thinking.
Well, why don't you field your first tarantula?
When I was a kid, I lived in North Dakota, and we had some friends from Texas that every once in a while they'd catch one on the road and bring it up to me. And for the first 5 of them that I had, they'd die within a week, which they were males, and I didn't know at the time they don't live very long. But about 5 years ago, my mom told me that every single one of those spiders died because she hairsprayed it to death. So that was my first plan.
Yeah, she was not a fan. Kind of like when somebody's puppy runs away, you know? Hairspray. Death by hairspray. Aquanet murder.
Okay.
Okay, so I grew up in the hills of California. Are you just laughing at yourself, David, or did we just come across?
No, I was just laughing at the murder story. That was really it. You know, just a whole lot of tarantulas living on a farm somewhere kind of story.
Yeah, so I grew up in the hills of California. There were quite a bit of amphibians and reptiles, and I was into it. And of course, like any dweeby little nerdy kid, I loved dinosaurs. And so I moved to New Mexico when I was 8. And one night we had this big sliding glass door to our kitchen. One day we're eating dinner, and this big, as everyone says, dinner plate size tarantula is crawling up the glass. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, and I was just like, that's so cool. Can I pet it? And my mom was really open-minded to animals, but not super knowledgeable about invertebrates. So she was kind of like, look, but don't pet. And so then I got more interested in the wildlife in New Mexico, and they have really huge vinegaroons, centipedes, scorpions, tarantulas, velvet ants, and some other just like really out of this world invertebrates. And so that's when I got turned on to the invertebrate world. The first bug I ever kept was actually I was friends with this girl who lived on a ranch, and there were ants, fire ants everywhere. And I was asking her if she was worried about them crawling up her pants and getting bitten, because I was still pretty new to the desert at this time. And she said, no. She said, I catch them. And I said, well, and then what? And she said, well, I keep them. And so they had this big tea jar. And so we went out and scooped a bunch of clay, powdery dirt and filled it most of the way up with dirt. And she sat out in the middle, she and I sat out in the middle of the ant hill, each with a stick, and you put the stick on the ground and wait for an ant to crawl up. And then you just go tap on the rim and it would fall in there. And we made our own little ant farms, and it was the coolest thing. None of them bit us or stung us, and so you'd keep it for a month or so and give them a little sponge with water and drop some food in there and let them dig all their little tunnels. And then when you didn't want to take care of them anymore, you just go put them back in their colony. And so that's when I started keeping native stuff. Of course, now we keep mostly exotic stuff. I didn't find out until I was older that there are all kinds of beautiful exotic tarantulas. And so now that's, you know, what kind of, I don't keep a ton of native stuff, but, you know, there's some beautiful native tarantulas. We live in an awesome country.
Oh, yeah. So were you collecting ants because you didn't have cable television?
Yes, this is the case. Yes, and I'm a better person for it.
Okay, good. You know what, honestly, and for each their own. I don't know why. I've always been really freaked out about spiders. I don't even know if I'm really freaked out anymore. If I like to convince myself I'm freaked out, I'm just not sure where I'm at in life on this one. But honestly, now that Chad's obsessed with tarantulas, I'm paying a little more attention to them. And we were talking jumping spiders a little bit at Arlington, and the whole jumping spider community and everything I thought was super unique. And now that I'm actually keeping my eyes peeled, I'm seeing so many jumping spiders out here. It's not even funny. But you guys,
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. So breeding tarantulas, again, I've seen some pretty unique videos. The whole process, again, I might be freaked out, I might not be freaked out. I'm not even sure anymore. But I am intrigued because I love all the colors and the variability in all these guys. What was the first group that you started working with, and why?
It was actually jumping spiders was the first spider. When we got together, we had both had some experience with breeding tarantulas. I was breeding a Vicularia versicolor, which is a very beautiful spider, metallic blue as baby, and then purple and green as an adult. And my very first egg sac, I was living in a trailer house, and it was in Montana, and it was 100 degrees in there. So
talking like early to mid 90s.
Yeah. So the egg sac mostly went bad, but I did hatch out a few, and that was the start. From there, we went together. We started breeding a lot of Poecilotheria. We bought very heavy. Ken the bug guy, we put out a list of this is what we want. We have $5,000 to spend. And after the few con artists tried to get us, which there were a couple of those, Ken the bug guy hit us up and said, hey, I've got most of those species, but they're spiderlings, and I've got a few adults. So that's where our founding stock came from.
Well, yeah, the collection we have now, yes, which, yeah.
Is now going on 10 years. We've had it, been raising these animals and breeding them. I don't even know what our first breeding video on YouTube was.
Gosh.
Well, we've bred a lot of versicolor. We've bred a lot of Poecilotheria regalis and fasciata, which come out of Sri Lanka and India. They're called the ornamental tarantulas.
Did you say Vicularia?
Vicularia versicolor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we produced an Vicularia sac? I don't think so. And
you guys are keeping up with all this, right?
Yeah, I'm into it. We've kept spiders, so I'm with you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm mostly daydreaming, but I'm paying attention.
Awesome.
So
we did breed the Goliath Peter and got an egg sac, but it was during a time when she was going on a cruise, and I had to open up that egg sac by myself, so we didn't get it on film, but it was no good. We bred and produced egg sacs from Poecilotheria metallica, Fasciata regalis, and those would be the only folks.
the metallic.
I got a Formosa egg sac.
Let's see.
And
well, we've done some Aphanopelma.
We'd have to go back through and see all the species.
Yeah, I mean, it when you start going back, cataloging all this stuff through your mind for decades, I don't know, we're forgetful, I guess, at this age.
One of my most proudest accomplishments was actually breeding tokay geckos, and I bred a few species of day geckos too. Yeah. That was a challenge. I mean, it took like 180 days for the eggs to hatch, and the animal came out just as pissed off as the parents were, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I've always liked the tokay stuff. I know. Oh, I missed that. What was that?
Oh, I was just thinking also that one of our bigger egg sacs was a Chromatopelma cynopubescens, and then Nandu chromatus, of course, if he didn't say that.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
sorry, boring.
No, you're all right. No, breeding spiders. I actually want to talk a lot about this because I'm sure a lot of people don't know the ins and outs of this, unless they're already following you guys. How temperature sensitive are the egg sacs? And, what's causing you guys to lose the most of them? If you lose them.
The biggest thing that's doing us in that we didn't know until we talked to a tarantula expert, he's not a guy that's actually got any of the book stuff. He's a fireman out of New York called Frank Soma.
Oh, and happy birthday, Frank. Today's his birthday.
And it's infertility in the males. Generally, if you have a fertile male, you'll get production. Sometimes we've got to do like the green bottle blues, which are very beautiful spider. Those females are, you have to pull the egg sac the second you see it.
Yeah.
If you turn around, you could come back and she'd be eating that egg sac.
Well, and here's another thing we discovered along the way is, so a lot of times moms will cannibalize under stress, which when you're walking through the room, checking on them, feeding on them, sometimes they're like, oh, it's murder time. I should kill these babies before these big monsters eat my babies. And that way I can live to see another day and reabsorb the nutrients. You know, that's nature's way. So a lot of species cannibalize at the drop of a hat, some less so. So depending on the species and depending on the circumstances, a lot of times we choose to pull the egg sac away from mom at a certain point and incubate it ourselves. And that's a whole process also. But one mistake that we were making for a period of time was, of course, you turn it very gently. Oh, it's so delicate. And we noticed that a lot of times our egg sacs were spoiling. So doing more reading and more observation, we realized that the moms really jostle them around and turn them really roughly. And so we started kind of doing the same thing. We realized, so you've got 30 to 1,500 eggs in there together, how, you know, depending on the species, and that it's kind of like a piece of fruit that if one starts to spoil, it'll start to spoil the others around it. So you really kind of have to like jostle it and keep them separated from each other, which in that tight little egg sac is difficult to do. And so, well, first of all, it has to be turned about every 12 hours. So it has to be incubated and turned every 12 hours. So you really have to be dedicated and on a timer and all this stuff. And then we actually built an incubator that would turn it, and it didn't work out so great. So we continued doing it manually. But actually turning it roughly and literally kind of breaking those eggs apart, which you wouldn't have thought, that was kind of a breakthrough for us, a literal and figurative breakthrough.
And we've, through the years, there was a book called E. Miguel's, which came out in the early 80s.
Only in
French. Book. Yeah, it's all in French. But in there, I had a friend that was producing egg sacs left and right. And so he'd produce them, and I'd say, how you doing? He said, well, you know, I just did this, that, and the other thing. I thought he was dicking me around. I thought he was just trying to hide all the
He would be real vague about what he was doing.
So she got to have a sit down with him about 2 years ago, and he said, nah, it wasn't anything like that. The problem was, how are you? Oh, are these microphones not even hooked up?
I don't know.
They aren't even hooked up.
That's what you hear.
Okay. Sorry.
We can hear you.
I didn't even know that. So,
they look cool.
So he just said, no, I just did spiders, and sometimes they produced, and sometimes I got babies out of it, and sometimes I didn't. I had no idea.
Basically, it was the luck of the draw, not that he was withholding any fantastic trade secrets. So we got a good laugh out of that, because he considered that man to be like his mentor, and he thought that one day he was going to crack that guy's brain open and find out all of his innermost secrets, and turned out there were none. We love you, Bill.
Nice.
So there were, in the 80s, there was not a lot of information about breeding them. There was a few books out, and very few of them were worth even watching. So, or even reading. So in that Guy de Miguel, it said the incubation temperature was at 76 degrees. So my first versicolor egg sac, like I said, it was getting 100 degrees on my trailer, and I was freaking out that they were just going to all die. And since then, we have pretty much tried to keep our incubation temperatures between 78 and 82 degrees, because one time during that hot summer, I also produced ornamental tarantulas out of Sri Lanka. And I sent a bunch to a guy, and he told me he matured all of them out as males. Every single spider that I sent him was a mature male. And so I've always been worried about running a higher incubation temperature. And they say that it's not temperature dependent on sex, but I don't know that that's actually a fact. I don't know if that's been researched.
There's not been tons of published research on tarantula incubation and, you know, all that stuff. So if you're doing it pretty heavy duty, it's really not learn as you go, like there's no information, but there's always new stuff to learn as you do it. So that's kind of the fun part.
Okay. So when you guys go through an incubator, oh, I was just a quick question about your incubator. Was it like a hybrid chickabator where you have the shelves that are kind of doing one of these that jostle them around, or what exactly did you guys do to make your own incubator?
When we started on YouTube, there was a guy called Tarantula Guy in 1976, and he just tried coming back, and he's not doing as well as he was back in 2013, which is when we really started doing videos. Anyway, there was a book called The Tarantula Keeper's Guide by well, he's a Canadian anyway, and he had an actual design for building an incubator with an egg turner.
He called it the mechanical mom.
Yes. So this guy on YouTube actually built one, and he found a timer that was a 4 or 6 hour timer. So it would spin and completely revolve 4 to 6 times a day. And he said, yeah, I'll put the item number down on the bottom. And we emailed him and tried to get a hold of him and just couldn't find it. So we found a 24-hour incubator. And what it was is just a mechanical timer that spun around one time every 24 hours. He's actually got all the parts for there's a fishing reel piece that you put on the end of it so that you just get these little plastic containers and you screw them into that. And this is actually, what are those cups? Portion cups for beads and stuff. So you can set them up to where you got 3 or 4 of them in a row, and you can put multiple egg sacs in there, and it's supposed to spin. You put little pieces of Velcro in there to help keep the eggs broken up. But it never turned quick enough. And we actually built the incubator from the ground up. We did actually use a hobobator on the very top the first time. And the temperature stayed stable. We just couldn't get the eggs turned enough without manually doing it twice a day.
So now what we do is we just build a tiny little incubation chamber out of like a 32-ounce deli cup. Is it 32? 12? What?
32.
Okay. With a little cloth hammock with water underneath, and then a hole in the side so you can keep it hydrated. So you don't want it touching the water. You just want the water kind of wafting up and keeping it nice and humid. Then we just put that little incubation chamber inside of our reptile. Whatever, we just see it needs to be the right temperature. So it depends on what species we're incubating at the time. But the incubator is not, and then we turn it manually.
It goes in our colubrid incubator where we incubate. So about 82 degrees is what we're shooting at.
Which works pretty well overall.
And the design is kind of like what Trooper Walsh put in, I think it was him, The Reproductive Husbandry and Boas and Pythons in Captivity, where they actually took chondro eggs and they put them in pantyhose and actually suspended them in a gallon jar over water. And it worked. I mean, we've never had chondro eggs yet. We don't even have chondros. We will get some
right now.
And they were able to do it. So this design came from my friend who was holding all these secrets from me. And he just used pantyhose, which is what Trooper Walsh used. And it just allowed the airflow and the moisture to hit those eggs, so they were always at 95 to 100% humidity.
Love you, Trooper. I was thinking about you today. That's no joke.
It's interesting. And by the way, that's like one of the best books for boas and pythons. I think we all read it back in the day. When I first got in the hobby, it was referred to as the Bible. Still have it to this day, and I still pull it out every once in a while, just do a little bit of reading. I will say there are some pretty unique ideas in there, but I think we overthought things a lot back then. I think it's a lot simpler than it is thought to be, I guess you could say.
Well, technology kind of caught up with the ideas that people had back in those days too, so that makes it a lot easier. You can go and buy an incubator for reptiles now, which back in the day you used a hobobator. That was as good as you could get.
Well, and I think the other thing that I think that people were really trying to simulate nature as much as possible. And really an animal in captivity is different than an animal living in the wild for a zillion reasons. And so that's why, I find naturalistic enclosures to be beautiful and exciting for me to look at. But I don't always know that it's optimal for the animal. But I don't know if you guys want to get into that can of worms.
I mean, why the hell not? I mean, who cares? Who are you gonna? We're gonna offend people no matter what on this episode. So we just haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
Well, when you come to naturalistic environments, they're beautiful and they're wonderful. And most of the time, unless they're built so perfectly, they pretty much break down the waste material. They rarely get clean because nobody wants to go in there and pull all their animals out and then spend hours scrubbing everything down.
Especially if you have 300 snakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you got one tank that's set up like that. That's great. Once a month, you go in there, you clean it out, and then you can take care of all your other animals without burning up time. Because I know, Dave, you keep a lot of reptiles, and you said you can do about 100 adult females in an hour, which I'm still racking my brain trying to figure out how you get it.
yeah, he talks about it all the time. It's
Amazing.
Even in the
I'll take a video for you sometime. It's going to be a really boring hour, but I hope you get something out of it.
But we do like naturalistic. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, going along with the naturalistic stuff, like, I think that the idea and what people are learning, and we've, you know, obviously we're all friends with Ryan McVeigh, and he's real big into breaking down the whys of some of the naturalistic stuff. So right. I don't think it's always like it has to be a bioactive enclosure and you have to have plants in there and certain stuff like that. However, in some species, a certain plant emits a certain something, a gas or whatever, and that's what the animal needed. So as we progress, I think we find all these little things that maybe the naturalistic, you know, is where we started, and then we started pulling this out and then up, you know, increasing this or decreasing that, you know. So like for skinks, you know, we talk about skinks every episode at some point, but for the blue-tongued skinks, for us, we kept them in racks, you know, for years, and they did great and they're fine, and we had to supplement. And then we switched over to giving them UVB, and we still have them in, we built a rack system for them, but we have them in a rack system, but now we can offer UVB, and I think it helps. So there's like certain things. I'm not saying that one way is wrong or right, but I think if we can break down and really look at some of the naturalistic ideas, like the reasons why it's this or the reasons why it's that, like we just were talking about a Bronia not that long ago and a Gurnia, you know, like the difference between the top of the enclosure and the bottom needs to be vastly different temperature-wise and humidity-wise. So that's hard to do in a rack, or that's hard to do in certain setups. So a more naturalistic, if you will, setup helps you to create that, you know. And there's a lot to that stuff. You know, I think that also coming up with nesting is big. So doesn't necessarily have to be naturalistic, but you wouldn't have thought to put a nest box in if you didn't see them digging in the dirt, you know, one of the lizards digging in the dirt, or a snake or whatever, you know. So I don't know. That's my take on it.
You guys have nailed down that. We've kept lots of Taliqua. We've had Negrius. We've had Easterns and Northerns. I can't even think of the scientific names anymore because it's been so long. But we've never been able to reproduce them. I found a mandible in the stool one time. So either she had a stillborn and ate it, or just ate it because she was stressed. I think that was it was a Aryan jail, which I don't even know the scientific name. And that's cool that you guys are doing it. And Earl and I have been going back and forth about whether they need, Earl Jones from Lone Star, about whether they need full spectrum or not. Because back in the 90s, we used to keep them with full spectrum and have the heat rock, because I'm back to those days of the heat rock. And now you're saying that you can do it without, but it does help. So if we get back into blue tongues, which they're very time consuming. I mean, you're saying they just eat cat food. We used to feed them like beardeds. We'd feed them vegetables and all kinds of stuff, and it was very time consuming.
Well, I mean, I'm going to argue with you on that one. It is a little time consuming. Like one thing I always recommend too, depending on how complex your diet is mix up a big batch, put it in an ice tray with, you know, your serving size, and just pop out the cube, let it thaw out, and you got a meal, and you're not constantly doing the veggie thing and chopping stuff up. With us, we just have so many here, you know, it's always just a full-on day event to make the food and boil the eggs and all the different ingredients we have in there. So I get it. But like even, you know, so like going into this year, we're about to start cooling them down in November. From November to probably February, we're going to be preparing food like every week and freezing it. So that once the season gets going, we're really busy, pull out the bags, everything's ready. We're not going to have to stress out, and we're good for the year. So those 3 months we should have off, we're going to prepare for the year and hopefully be in a better place, I guess you could say. But no, I hear you guys on that. I mean, they are a little time consuming, but honestly, out of all the species I work with, I find the skinks to be the easiest and most low maintenance thing I have around.
Yeah, I would agree.
Really?
If you have the substrate set up right, that's the deal. Like that's a major change. Like when we first started keeping them, we didn't know what substrate would be best, so we had them on paper for a little bit. Man, keeping skinks on paper is terrible. Terrible idea. And the reason is because you have to clean it all the time. Then we did cypress mulch. That worked out fine. We just found it a little dusty, the stuff that we get up here. And then we do coconut bedding. And really, like, it's really easy. Like
the poops are like that big, you guys. Little poops. The messiest they get is when you give them the meal and they just flop it all over the place. I'm not saying you guys have to get skinks again. I'm just saying maybe it's worth it.
Well,
we do know people
use newspaper, and we used to use newspaper, and those little poops can get smeared on the walls and all over them and all over. I mean, it was a mess. Yeah, and they poop a lot. I mean, if you feed them every day and fresh, they have diarrhea most of the time.
You're not supposed to feed them every day, guys.
No,
you're in over your head. You're only supposed to feed your adults every 7 to 10 days.
Yeah. Once or twice a week, yeah.
Yeah. They're
changed since the books.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. On one of your ride home from work, give me a call. We'll talk.
Okay, so let's talk about these sacks a little more. Can we go back to some sacks?
Absolutely.
We're always down for some sack talk.
Yeah, I'm all about sack talk, guys. You know me. How long do you incubate before they hatch?
That, again, depends on the species. Anywhere from, they say 45 days, but we've never gotten one to hatch out that quick. It must be at the high 80s to get them that quickly, to almost 3 months. So what happens is that the egg sac, inside the eggs actually hatch. And at that point, they're called eggs with legs. And that's exactly what they look like, is this little egg sitting there with these legs going like this, just slowly.
So back up for a second. So first, it's just a bunch of little white eggs like caviar. And some of them are teeny, teeny, tiny, depending on the species. Bird eater eggs are larger, but still small. So he's talking about the very first molt stage. It's called eggs with legs. So it still looks like the white little egg with just little stick legs sticking out, which is very weird. But go on.
That's actually when they hatch. The molt stage starts after that.
Oh.
So inside the egg, they're like that for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the species. The ones in North America, the ones in Mexico, they take a little longer than your Asian, your African, and your South American. And then they molt. So they actually kick off all that skin in one action, which is what invertebrates do.
It takes a while, though.
Yeah. And then they're called first instar, which is stage in between molts. And at that point, none of them in the tarantulas are at the feeding stage. So what they do at that point is they just crawl around each other for another 2 to 4 weeks, and they molt one more time.
So we keep them in the incubation chamber all that time until they get into a feeding stage.
Yeah. So then at that point, they molt one more time. So that's the second instar. And at that point, most of your species, except for a few in Africa, I believe, are at the feeding stage. In the wild, what happens is either the mother opens up the sac and allows them to escape, or they push their way through all that webbing, because the egg sac is actually just a ball of really fine web to help protect them from the environment or any predators.
To keep them nice and humid, too.
Yeah, and then they emerge and they separate from the mother, and then they're fully formed, and just like reptiles, they're ready to go and take care of themselves. So anywhere from about 6 to 8 weeks on average, but it's taken as long as, I think, close to 12 weeks for us. In the wintertime in New Mexico, it was cold enough to where it slowed down development.
Wow.
So on average, from the moment the sac is produced to when you actually have to do anything with the spiders, we're talking 80 to 100 days at least?
Generally talking about 60 days. 60 days on average, 8 weeks.
So they hatch, but then you keep them in the incubator, then you said, for another 3 to 4 weeks?
Well, till they get to the feeding stage, which is usually the second molt.
Okay.
So a while. And here's the spooky part too. After the breeding, the mom can wait over a year sometimes before she lays an egg sac. So that's totally variable as well.
Yeah.
So
they
Oh, go ahead.
they basically, if you were to keep it with the mom, you're probably looking about 8 weeks before you're going to start looking for spiderlings in where you keep your tarantula in the container.
Okay.
And then like Brachypelma smithi, Aphanopelma, the North American species, you're looking at maybe 12 weeks before you're going to see anything emerge. And of course, we open up the egg sac after. Generally, what we'll do is with the tropical species is open them up after about 2 weeks, 14 days, and by that time they've hatched. With the North American species and the ornamental tarantulas, we wait about 4 weeks before we open up the egg sac, and at that point they're eggs with legs. And then we separate them out because she talked about them dying and rotting, and just kind of separate them. And then every day, if a spiderling does die, we'll pull that out so it doesn't ruin the rest of the spiders, because inside the egg sac they're actually kind of encased in a little bit of yolk, and that adds some protection to the eggs and the babies too, and it keeps them from drying out.
Mm-hmm.
So before you separate, is there a timeline? Do you guys ever run into like cannibalism?
Oh yeah.
No,
Well,
we always pull them before that point.
no, but if you don't, though,
You can.
So one of the biggest species that lays the most spiderlings is the Lasiodora parahybana, the salmon pink bird eater. Supposedly they can have up to 2,000 slings, which is why a lot of people won't breed them. They're an easy species to breed. And what the professionals will do, there's just been word about it, I don't know anybody that does it personally, is they'll just let the spiderlings eat each other until they get down to a manageable number. And it allows the other ones to grow up and get to a little bigger size, because these guys, 2,000 spiderlings you can barely see, they're so tiny.
So number one, fewer to care for, but also too, a lot of people just feel like it's good to have the survival of the fittest, and basically the ones that are genetically superior are the ones that live, and makes it easier. We've never done that. Don't go sending us any hate mail, but we've heard of it a time or two.
It's like Thunderdome, I mean, you come out of the egg sac, you're ready to kill some other your brothers and stuff. You know what I mean? That's what it's like. You got Metallicas. They're over there blasting music, trying to kill each other.
Yeah. So I guess being a social media presence like you guys are, do you feel like you have to tiptoe a little too much? I mean, you guys are a little on edge having these conversations. Like, you have a disclaimer on every other thing we're talking about.
Okay, so there's a couple parts to this. One, there's this asshole out of Philadelphia that if I ever make it to the NRBC, she's afraid that I'm going to get kicked out, and she's going to get kicked out.
He's talking about the Tinley show.
Tinley. We're gonna have he and I are gonna have a little heart to heart because he talks some shit, and I am not happy about it, and I want to talk to him face to face. It ain't something that I want to type out. Which there's a lot of people in this hobby that are like that. So we're getting ready to start our own podcast, and the guy that we're doing with is John Feely at Feely's Clutch. He lives about 4 hours away from us, and he told me that I cannot be an asshole online. So I'm trying to tone it back instead of saying my feelings. Now, on top of that, we do have children that watch our show, so we try to keep it fairly moderate.
But he's an emotional man.
There's this guy that said she was talking about laying the egg sac and how the male develops a sperm web and then crawls under it. Because at the end of I don't know if you know anything about breeding, but spiders don't. The sex they have is not very much fun. It's just fingering. That's all it is. So the male develops a special tool at the end of his short legs, which are called the pedipalps, and they're not legs to all you people that want to go out there and say that I said legs. It's like a turkey baster. They actually use hydraulic pressure. They lay sperm on a web, and then they crawl under it and actually absorb that sperm into this turkey baster at the end of their feet.
It's not a real turkey baster for those of you who are It's a tool that's like a turkey baster.
Yeah, it works on the same principle because invertebrates work on hydraulic pressure. So that's what makes them move. That's what makes them feed. That's what makes them do
A
everything.
suction bulb.
Yes. So what they'll do is they will absorb it and they will suck it into these pedipalpal bulbs, and then what they'll do is they'll pick the female out, and she's got a little slit in her abdomen, basically close to where the cephalothorax, which is the head, meets the abdomen. And now that terminology is all changed. Whoever you say that I'm talking wrong, fuck you. But he will actually, it's kind of curved, and it's curved a special way because there are some species of spiders that, not tarantulas, that will actually, once they put that turkey baster in there, they'll break it off so that another male can't get it. But different species have different shapes, and it's actually how they identify them and differentiate them as species. And he injects that sperm in there, and then he tries to get away so he can breed another female. But somebody said, I just laid a sperm on my abdomen. And boy, that just pissed her off. And she didn't want to go out and call this guy a total asshole, but he is.
There are a couple of creeks out there, I will say, we've discovered over the years.
Well, I just translated was Italian, not Italian, it was either Japanese or something. Some guy said, well, shit, I didn't learn nothing, but I'm happy, or something like that. And in another language, I'm sure that I don't know if he was trying to say something nasty or not. So what do you say to that? Thank you?
I think thank you is always the right answer.
Yeah. So
we're not
I'll be
afraid
honest
of
with you guys. Oh, go ahead. I'm listening. We're on a weird delay. So
they're not a fan of retaliation.
Oh, well, that's fucking wrong, man, because we're going to have you're talking about going to Tinley, messing people up out of Philly? I mean, I think you got a little retaliation in you, buddy.
I'm not afraid of retaliation.
That's right. I'm not going to encourage it, but I might encourage it a little bit if I'm drinking, just to be honest with you. You should probably point them out to me when we're at the show. But, yeah, I'll be honest. Oh, 1 second. I was just gonna say I'm generally a little bit intrigued by all this.
Suction cupping sperm. Yeah, I knew you would be.
Yeah, finger banging. I mean, you got my attention a little bit right now on this whole tarantula breeding thing. Yeah, you kind of had me at turkey baster. I'll be honest. That was kind of the selling point for me on this. But nonetheless, go ahead, Ben.
So, I really enjoy having. I mean, these conversations are fun. So, I did want to get into, and you guys had one really, really famous video, and it was about opening a sack, and it made it like everywhere. I don't know if Dave really knows how famous it really was, but can you guys explain, what species it was, and then where it went, and what that whole deal was, the little bit of a ride of going viral on that?
Well, let me first off start this by saying I had nothing to do with that video, and that hurts my feelings a little bit. It was our daughter that filmed it, edited it, and did all that, and I didn't have a part in it. So, and actually our second most popular video is the same way. So I guess I'm a shitty producer.
What is the most popular video?
It's the gecko biting Dave.
Oh, that's not our second most, but it's up there.
Yeah, so
that was a good one. Yeah.
So go ahead and talk about the egg sack, because I wasn't even there.
Well, okay. So that's a funny part, because we had a teenage kid at home who knows everything, of course, but she actually is very tech savvy and definitely more up to speed with what's happening online than we are. So she's like, "Oh God, no! Don't film tarantulas. You guys should order Japanese snacks and film yourselves eating them, like weird snacks." And we're like, "No, but thank you." She had all these crazy ideas. And when they were both on set, they would fight like cats and dogs. And so she loved it when he was at work and she was in charge, because she would screw with all the camera things and say, "Oh, we're going to do it like this. And oh, we're going to turn this light out and just like this." And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to stand here and do my thing. So it's funny that she filmed and edited that entire video. Did she even, I think she even chose the title and everything. And yeah, so what happened in that video was I had bred Nanu chromatis. Oh, and that's not even our best egg sac video. That's the funny part. That was before Zilla bought us all our newer equipment. And so it's like the camera's going in and out of focus, and you can hear me and then not hear me, and we have all much nicer stuff now. But what year was that? Like,
it's getting close to 3 years.
Yeah, so we've gotten all new stuff since then. But so it was a Nanu chromatis. She had a nice big egg sac. I'm talking to her kind of dweeby, like, I know, honey, which that's been all over the place. And that's been on like Yahoo News and Right This Minute, and some other stuff. And so I take it away from her and I open it, and it is a massive egg sac. I remember because there was 2 egg sacs that day, and together it was 1,600 spiderlings. So we had a Monocentropas balfouri that day that had 40, and the Nanu chromatis mom had 1,560 spiderlings.
Wow.
So I don't know why I remember that, but I do. And so it was really wild because you could just see them all over the place. And I guess to most people, it's a very creepy and horrifying thing. And so a lot of people comment like, "Oh, I want to kill myself right now," but that's gonna have to be held on pause until I finish watching this. And just lots of weird stuff about how people find it totally horrifying and titillating at the same time. And so we got contacted by a media company who wanted to sell the footage, and so it kind of went all over the place after that. It already was somewhat viral, and then it went. They sold it. In fact, they're still using that footage. We got an email the other day that they owe us some pounds because it's a British media company, and they're still selling that footage. And so that was a lot of fun. We actually have better egg sac videos than that. And the cool part was, actually, I think, the series that came after that were for days and days and days. I'm separating out babies. And they are everywhere. Like, think of chihuahuas on crack, but like 2,000 of them. And, they're like, that big, just like that. So it was pretty crazy, and it's really funny because people like to watch and then like comment like, at 7 minutes and 19 seconds you lost one, and because it like ran out of the frame, and then somebody else will come on and be like, yeah, but at 9 minutes and 53 seconds she caught it, and I do. We didn't lose a single one. And so. And, oh my God, packing those babies up. Packing spiderlings is no fun at all.
So, half of that egg sac went to another guy right away. So we were immediately down by 750 spiderlings. But at that time, all of a sudden, we weren't even I was watching it pretty closely. We watched Social Blade to see how our views are for daily. And then that day, they tell you exactly how many subscribers you got per day. And now the motherfuckers only do it if you got 100. If you get for us, if we get 100 subscribers, then it shows up. So about that time, there was a guy that came out of some fucking country, and it wasn't Ukraine. Where is it from?
I don't know.
Some country out of there that's fucking cold, and everybody hates everybody. And this guy started blowing up too. And he was a YouTube guy. He was not a spider guy, but he found a small niche that he could jump into and kind of blow up. Motherfucker's name is Petco, and his channel is The Dark Den. So we approached him. Yeah. Another guy that one of these days I'm going to meet at a show and have a little talk with. But he's so big that you probably couldn't even get within 10 foot of that motherfucker.
He's a tiny man, but famous.
Yeah, so we asked him to come back. He did. He did within a year. He had already, at that time, he was smaller than us. And then we started getting about the same. He blew up about that time too. And we started getting all those views, and he started getting all those views. And all of a sudden, ours started tapering off and slowing down, and his just kept going up. So he knew some kind of the end to YouTube, and I don't know what it is. Yeah. But the guy just started doing spiders when he started doing his channel, and he didn't know a damn thing about spiders. So at that time, she decided to start looking and see how far-reaching her name was. So she went and put her name in Google, Deadly Tarantula Girl. And there's a forum that everybody used to follow back in that day, and I can't remember, arachnoboards. And somebody asked the question, what do you think about Deadly Tarantula Girl? I've just got into spiders, and I'm just wondering how people feel. In one day, they had to shut it down because they got 3 solid pages of hate mail on it. And most of those motherfuckers say things like, she should be in porn. She should not be doing spider videos. And this is after breeding multiple species and showing everything so that you could do it too. And the other people were saying, I don't really think she's worth the shit. I just watch Petco. And at that time, I still think, because he's only a couple years into it. Anybody that says that is some of the dumbest motherfuckers that ever lived, because they're following a guy that's brand new to spiders, which this guy in Philadelphia, he said he's been doing tarantulas for a while. And we've been doing them for decades, okay? So it had a lot of hate coming with it, which is basically, we've now learned, just jealousy. But it's really cool to go to a show. I mean, we still get some of the kickback from it. I mean, she goes to a show and she was sitting next to Brian Cusco, which we both love Brian Cusco. We watch his videos. He's a good guy. And this guy comes up and he's got this big old decoration for a background in his cage. And tell him what he said.
Oh, so Brian and I were hugging and talking, and this guy walks by. He had like a big styrofoam like background, like for like a, like a gecko tank or something. And he sees me, or he sees us, and he's like, oh, I'm a big fan. And he kind of runs toward us, and Brian is like, and he's like, oh, Deadly Tarantula Girl, oh my, oh, and Brian's like, okay, really? And he's like, oh, I watch you too, man, you're cool, but, oh, Deadly Tarantula Girl, and so Brian's like, yeah, all right, I'll see you later. And so he walks off, and the guy's just like, oh my God, will you sign this? He holds up his big styrofoam thing. Oh, and then I was like, oh, I don't have my Sharpie because I was away from our booth, and Brian was like, oh, use mine. And yeah, so it was kind of cute.
So it was really an amazing experience. And the starting of our channel was, she likes to tell a different story, but she was in the shower and I came in, and I've been watching Tarantula Guy 76, and he looks like me and he has a personality like me. If he doesn't like you, he's going to tell you. And I said, what if we were to do a girl doing this? She has the knowledge, and she's a beautiful woman. And I was going to say she's not the ugliest one I've ever seen, which isn't very nice. She's pretty hot. And I said, let's do this. And she said, what you said, there's only a tiny probability. She likes to lay it down like when she thinks there ain't no fucking chance it's going to happen, she doesn't like to eat her words, so she'll say there's a very low probability that we'll ever get discovered. And then a couple years into it, all that happened, and now she's known the world over. I mean, there's a guy that sent her a picture in Sweden wearing one of our shirts. And that is just an amazing experience to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty fun. It's pretty neat when we get emails from all over the world and comments. And I think it's awesome because we're teaching people. To me, that's my passion is education and animals. So to be able to kind of do those on our own terms, that's pretty awesome.
And she didn't even take it. She took it in stride when we got those comments on that forum. I mean, she didn't even bother her. I was ready to hunt down every one of them motherfuckers and have a face-to-face with them. And I think it was Brian Bartek.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to do. What Brian Bartek always says, these people talk shit to you on your channel, and then when they meet you, they're like, hey, I just love you. And the people that I don't like, it ain't going to be that way.
Well, here's the one thing that does kind of aggravate me, I guess you could say. Once in a while, it really gets me fired up, but usually I don't really care. They don't say, for the most part, oh, she's a bad keeper. I disagree with this or this or that. They say, she's a whore. She's a dumb bitch. She should do porn. Oh, and it's like, okay, why are you going to degrade me? Basically, just because I'm a woman doing better than you. I doubt anyone's ever told Brian Barczyk that he should just be doing porn. I mean, there's a random weirdo out there, but for me to be attacked over and over and say, oh, she should just get naked. Oh, she's just in it because she's a slut. Breeding spiders because I'm a slut? What kind of weirdo are you? I mean, it's just when people attack me, I believe because I'm a female that's successful and they just can't stand it. That's what I like when you pet yourself, Ben. I think that's so cute.
I wasn't sure you were watching.
I always watch. Yes. And David, those eyes. I'm still waiting for you to blink. I want to know about the grooming and maintenance and reproduction of your mustache.
Hairspray and a blow dryer.
He keeps looking away. As you guys know, he keeps looking away because he's at an abandoned bowling alley, and there's probably a raccoon or something coming up.
It's a possum tonight, man. It's a possum. I could maybe go get him.
You don't like grabbing up possums, though. I know you.
If I don't get it, it's only because maybe I waited too long.
So while Dave's getting the possum, it's always a good time. I don't know if you guys want to tell some of the love stories you guys have of like. I know Marita and I have sat down and talked some of your fan love stories, and actually even at Arlington, we've seen some of that. And I don't know if you want to tell your crazy couple love stories or if that's something you should hide on the air here. But I think they're really funny.
Well,
I don't know how you feel about it.
Should you talk about that, or should I? Or
You should.
Well, okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who watches me. I think you all are totally amazing, and you all hold a special place in my heart. But there are some people who don't only love me; they want to like live inside of my skin, and things like that. And that's nice. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the love. Yeah, Anton?
You're in the background.
Are you enjoying being in the show? So there was one lovely lady who I got to meet face to face in at this last NARBC, and she was very excited. There was a lot of unsolicited touching happening, and she was feeling very passionate, and she really enjoyed being near me, and I enjoyed meeting her, and it was nice.
Talking about
and she apparently has some loathing for pale-skinned people because she made a lot of remarks about my beautiful cocoa butter skin, but about the repellent skin of a Caucasian in our presence. And it was interesting.
Yeah.
And
There's
you
always
see it a lot when you're at shows.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You see it a lot.
Yeah, she gets it a lot.
Which one of these days we want to make it. Man, that really sucks. Go ahead. I'm going to keep my mouth shut for once.
I was just going to say that it's always funny, like, the first time that you get somebody that's, like, excited to meet you, it feels really weird, But then when you get people that are, like, over the top, compared to what you would consider normal or whatever, I mean, people are just really excited. it gets like you get on that level of you're like, is this really cool? Like, I can embrace this even though I know it's weird, or is it like, hey man, maybe I should start thinking about an exit strategy because I might need to run. They might try to put me in their car or something, you know? Not that anybody can get me in the car, but for you guys.
That's one of the reasons she doesn't like to do those shows by herself, is she likes me standing right there, because here's a cool story. There's like 5 of the biggest fucking breeders in the United States at this one show we went to, and it was in San Antonio. And she was in a foot sling because she had broken her foot. Or you had broken it or sprained it? Something.
Yeah, I was in like a walking cast.
So through that show, these guys, you know, I know all these guys. I've talked to them. I mean, I'm not good friends with any of them. But so we get to the end of the show. It's Sunday, and I'm packing up, and it was in a weird place where you had to go a long ways to go get your equipment back into your vehicle. And so I do my first load of stuff, and I go out to the van. I'm out there about 5 minutes. I come back, and there's like 5 guys around her. And I walk through the door, and one of them sees me, and all of a sudden, all 5 of them just disperse.
They were just talking. They weren't being creepy, but it's like they want it to be. People don't. Yeah. They just behave differently when he's nearby. And it's funny because when I walk around with someone else, like if I walk away from our table, people act totally different. And it's just interesting. Or a lot of people will like contact and write like afterwards, or even just like if I'm at the store or something, and they'll like email me or like get me on like Facebook Messenger and be like, I saw you putting gas in your car. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And they're like, I just, wow. And I'm like, yeah, my car, it's a guzzler.
I do tell people that you're a good pumper.
Well, it's so here's another story of it. Just she missed something that was huge in my life. So Bob Clark, we're at the show getting ready to interview him, and he's watching. So we're just trying to wait till because somebody's announcing overhead or something. He's watching the TV.
Well, our booths were like face to face. We were like across the aisle from each other that show. So
he had been watching it, and he came over. He agreed to do an interview, and he's watching the channel, and he says, how do you do that? It's a spider that she's breeding or something. And she's like, well, you just put them in together and they do their thing and they move apart. And he's sitting there watching this, and she has an opportunity to teach Bob Clark. He's actually asking her a question about breeding, which it's Bob Clark, and she just blows him off.
Well, we were busy. I mean, come on, Bob. Yeah, so that kind of blew his mind that I didn't take a moment. You know, I teach everyone in the world, but I wouldn't take a moment to teach Bob Clark. And I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess I kind of thought that he should know. I don't know. I guess I gave him an answer, but it was kind of vague. And then afterward, he was like, Bob Clark was asking you to teach him. And I was like, oh, well, you know, things were happening. We were busy. There's a video. Watch it. Bob's a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
I like Bob.
I like Bob.
All right, Dave. How did it go with the possum?
I probably waited a little too long, but I found some tater tots and ranch dressing in my front seat, so I kind of threw it over there. I'm going to see if it comes back.
There's a little trail.
No, it's just a pile. Just a pile of tater tots with ranch. I'm optimistic.
I love that you found that.
Somebody has to, so she's going to step away for a second.
Yes, every time it's been an hour, I have to pee. Just a warning. So I'll return. He'll entertain you.
That's fine. We have Orion on here normally. He takes quite a few pee breaks.
Usually Ryan and I go back and forth for pee breaks, man.
Yeah, I'm the only one who doesn't pee.
He does. Nobody sees
you
it.
Don't That's pretty amazing. So you guys were talking. You were talking about reptiles. So what do you want to talk about reptiles? Let's talk reptiles.
So you guys have gators. You guys have. So Dave, I don't know if you know, but JD and Marita, they have a ton of species, like crazy amounts of different things, but venomous as well. I mean, they do it all. So,
well, in Texas now, so we don't have gators. We have crocodiles.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Actually, we don't have any gators anymore. We had a little issue, and we lost our gator, but she's still alive. She's just not with us anymore due to legalities. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do.
So, what part of Texas are you guys in?
We are south of Odessa in West Texas.
Okay. Do you guys have the luxury of setting up outdoor enclosures?
We do. Actually, right now we've got Macrocalyx semenkai. We've got red ear slider. We've got what else do we have outside? We're trying to breed horned frogs right now outside. It was 70 today, so they're probably going to have to come into this weekend. But even this late in the year, we're able to keep stuff outside. What else? We generally keep our water monitor even in New Mexico. We kept him outside. This year we weren't able to bring the cage with us, so we're gonna have to build him another one. He's pretty sad right now, he's tearing his cage up. It's 4x8 is his winter enclosure, and he just thinks that ain't big enough.
Yeah.
But she's wanted to keep retics outside, which I think is the craziest thing in the wild, because she doesn't. All we do is just feed them and maintain them. We don't play with them. And they're a little nippy anyway. You take them outside, and where there's possums out there that they can think they can get, and they might get a little more wild. And I ain't something I want to do.
Well, I also want kitties.
I understand.
Yes, we are blessed. Go ahead.
You're on, JD.
We are blessed to keep this stuff outside. Coming from the north, that's always been one of my dreams, and she's always been to where she could do it. And when you live in North Dakota and Montana, there's not a whole lot of time you can keep things outside.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben. Honestly, I was really enjoying the social media talk, tell you the truth. I'm happy to talk animals, but I found all that very intriguing. I think the stories were awesome.
Yeah. That was part of the fun that I knew that they had a bunch of stories. I know some of the stories. I don't know which ones we can tell or whatever. But
can we talk about golden showers?
Yeah, do you want to bring that up?
Oh fuck yeah, let's bring that up.
About golden showers.
There's that guy out of Russia that his name on YouTube is Lorja GS Sertao, and he was talking about golden showers.
And
so what are your feelings on golden showers?
I'm not into it, if that's what you're asking, surprisingly. I do have my limits in life. I'm a pretty open guy to a lot of things, but ass play off the table. Just not a fan. All this ass eating stuff, not a fan of that either. Golden showers, I feel like you'd really have to hate somebody, because we are talking about peeing on people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if this was an elephant thing. Jackass in my brain. I don't know how we got here.
The first time that I ever heard about it was actually from a guy that had taken a psychology course on abnormal sexual deviancy. And in that, they found that urinating on each other actually increases the pheromone output of the opposite sex. So it actually makes you hornier when you do it.
If I peed on somebody and then had sex with them, I'd never call them again.
You know that you're in a sterile, right? It ain't gonna hurt anybody.
See, we have goats, and the goats piss all over their face all the time. And the one today actually went underneath the female's piss, and then he almost did like a little quiver with his lip, like a whoa, 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 whoa. It was pretty gross. Pretty gross. But yeah, that's all pheromones too, buddy. I think we should just leave that in nature.
Oh, my
We are
goodness.
pheromonal animals. We do it like they do on the Discovery Channel, don't you know?
Oh, man.
Man,
Eating
can
ass is
we
often,
get a little bloodhound gang here, please?
eating ass is interesting because I found it's an age thing. The young people and the older people like do it, but the people that are in the 25 to 30 to 40 generation.
Let me just be specific. This is on him polling people. This is not a personal testimony.
Oh, we'll get there. I'd like to talk about this some more. Yeah. So I couldn't agree more with everything you're saying right now because I'm 36 years old and my tongue will never touch a butthole. But I was down in Daytona and I just started asking random people if they had asked because the first guy who said yes, I was kind of surprised. And it was actually a higher percentage of people saying yes than no. So very concerned. Very, very, very concerned.
Yeah.
Well, the reality of us is that if you've even imagined it, it's been done a million times before you. So there ain't nothing, you're not going to break any new ground.
Again, he's referring to the human race, not us specifically.
Yeah, you guys haven't said where you stand on any of these yet.
Yeah. You know what my favorite thing is? I can tell when she's lying because when she says a lie, she stops talking and looks at him and smiles and then directs her attention back to us.
The world is an amazing place, and my feelings has always been is if it's okay with your partner, then anything's good.
I'm a for each their own kind of guy too, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Here's something that I take a strong stance on is threesomes. I don't get it. If it's hard enough to satisfy one woman, so if there's two women, you're just gonna fall short no matter what you do. I don't get it.
Yeah. Amen, buddy. Amen. You got to know your limits in life, man. You got to know your limits. Like I've got friends that pull that kind of stuff off, and again, I just probably not that kind of guy. I wish, just not that kind of guy.
Well, it's been offered to me a couple times in my life.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm a one woman type of guy, so.
Oh, great talk.
So, what is your feeling?
And I haven't pooped on anyone, so I don't know. I feel like that's weird too.
Oh, lame-o.
Not even an
To
accident?
yourself. Put it all over the Sheridan, like some kind fellow that did the last time we were there.
Yeah, in Arlington, Dave videoed somebody that pooped on the floor, didn't make it to the bathroom all the way.
That was a total Tinley move, by the way, not an Arlington move, but still respectable.
I know. Well, so here was the thing. When you guys told me that came from the hot tub, I was like, thank Jesus I was done in the hot tub. Because that would have spoiled my time. But like turned into like a tea party. No.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
So Ben,
I was just going to say, the hot tub, it would take a very long time to realize someone's shit, by the way. Because you really got to think about it. The water's very disrupted. You can hardly see underneath it anyways. That son of a bitch is going to be turning in there for a while. You're going to smell something. You're going to think, okay, someone farted. No big deal. We're going to work our way through this. And then eventually you'll know what's happening when something kind of starts working its way up your chest. You know, just like maybe like a casing of a bean. You know, the undigested stuff. That's the stuff that'll get you.
Yeah.
Corn. I love the way they use corn for texture.
So, JD, you're about to tell a hot tub story. Go ahead.
No, actually, I don't have any hot tub stories because I mostly don't get in. I'm not pretty enough to go in a hot tub.
Oh, come on.
Hey, man,
but
if I can jump in the hot tub.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the story I thought that JD was going to tell us when in Arlington with me and Marita in the hot tub. And, 30 other people. And I had to step around somebody and I slipped and fell into the hot tub. That was awesome. Broke my toe.
It was because you were under the water so long. I was wondering if you were trying to check to see what the boobies looked like under the water. That's what I thought had happened. And then somebody says, you know, he's probably hurt. Somebody should go in and check it out. I almost dove in after you because I thought you were dead.
I stood up in my bikini and I was going to rescue you, Ben. And then you just popped up like that.
So I was telling you this when I slipped in. There was like a cutout of the step, and it wasn't really smartly built the way that the hot tub steps were. But I slipped and I fell in, and when I landed in the water, I said, and now, as you guys can probably look at me and know that I probably fall a lot. I've fallen quite a bit in my life. I'm a pretty good faller. So I landed in the water. I was, fine, but partly I was like, dang, that's a little embarrassing. There's like 20 people in this hot tub, and I just fell in the middle of all of them. Partly I thought I splashed them all because of how big I am.
Yeah.
And second, I was like, maybe I should just stay under the water. Maybe I should just stay here. And then, I sat there for a second, and I thought, oh, maybe somebody thinks I'm dying or something So I came up real nice and easy trying to be cool. And I look around, everybody has no look on their face except for Marita. Marita looked concerned. She wasn't in after me, but she was concerned. But everybody else was like, nah, it would have been fine.
Anytime you pull off a move like that, you need to come out of the water and go, yeah. That's what you need to do.
I almost floated up like Dead Man's Float. Like, I almost thought about doing that, too.
Yeah.
So I promise the next time we're together, I'll jump in the hot tub. The reason I didn't was because I'm diabetic and I had a sensor on my arm and I've got an insulin pump and I didn't take any of that stuff to close it off with me, and that can cause infection. So next time I will get just as naked as you are in there.
It's a deal.
That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'll come.
Awesome.
So, fuck. Sorry, a lot of distractions out here tonight. I've never been out here this late before. Maybe, I don't know, but it's been dark for a while. So, the show series, guys. So, no Tinley, which, the funny thing is, without there being Tinley, I never really know what month it is. And I saw those things pop up last weekend, memories and so forth. And I'm all like, well, that's interesting. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's the second week of October. Really never dawned on me that we were all supposed to be at Tinley last week. It's quite tragic. Really quite tragic.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
But
we want to go, and we were supposed to go this year. Earl had scheduled it. We were going to drive to Dallas and then fly with Earl Jones at Lone Star.
I was finally invited as a sponsored guest to the Tinley show, and I was so psyched. And of course, because I was going to be there, it was canceled.
But we will make it.
I tried to get you guys to go last October, and then
I know.
And you guys were like, I don't know. And then March, I was like, yeah, we're doing it. You guys got to come. And I bought you, I had an extra room for you. And then you guys last minute were like, no, I don't think we're going to make it. And then they canceled March. And I'm like, what are these days?
But you got to remember, we're poor. You need this stuff to make it happen. And we had just started moving to Texas, so that killed
really
this entire year.
Yeah,
our breeding season we got everything was shot. So we will make it
would
there
you
eventually.
Consider So when you say poor, do you mean reptile breeder poor, or do you mean famous YouTube star poor, or are we talking doctor poor? You have to gauge that for me.
We're like me doing porn poor.
No, not quite. Not quite there. We still both have to work 50 hours a week before we come home to work poor.
No, actually, we've been through a couple dry years due to my job because I'm an X-ray tech. and things were just getting to the point where the cost of living kept going up, and they weren't giving us reimbursement for it. And I found a wonderful job here, but we spend a lot of money on animals, so we are very reptile and tarantula poor.
But we're rich in love and all the good stuff that it matters.
So
As long as you
not
don't read
only
the
am I-
comments.
For the most part.
So not only am I a crappy a producer for a channel, I am also a crappy marketer. We could be in a position where we could probably be living off of YouTube with what we have built up, but I don't know how to maintain it. I'm an old guy, and I don't know what the new youngsters want. So we kind of missed the boat on that one, and hopefully it'll come around again. But we've actually talked about having a producer. We had a lady, marketer. She told us that a lady at the last NARBC said she'd do it. We just don't know if she's kind of hesitant because it's kind of a friend, and you know how money and friends don't go well together.
Well, she's like, all these people come and stare at you. You should be charging them money. And I don't know if people would pay money just to come and stare at me in person. She can't believe that I take pictures of people for free.
Ryan says that stuff to me all the time, that people stare at me and that he should charge a fee for it, but I don't think it's the same way that they're staring at you.
They want to pet your beard.
I've actually had people do that. Yeah, no, that's one of those like weird fan things. Like people come over, like, I see you on YouTube, I just want to pet your beard, and they come over and they start doing it. And I'm like, nah, I'm that guy. I'm okay with it. It's fine.
So you know the part in the Saturday night when I walked into the auction, and I'm like walking up to you, and the lady in the line turns around and like loses her mind and begins like cradles her face in my cleavage and just starts like
petting
holding my body, and I was like, I didn't consent to this. I was wearing the day I was wearing like the corset and because I performed that day. So yeah, that was a special moment in my life. Thanks for not rescuing me, either of you.
Every time that happens, she met a guy that was at a show, and he was charging $10 for his picture. He was in Dragonheart, and he was also a big guy in X-Files. Can't remember his name. So I told her, go get his autograph. We didn't have $10 at the time. We had just walked into this place, didn't even know that was going on, and it was the UFO festival in Roswell. And so she goes and starts talking to him, and he's hot and heavy all over her. So I walk away, and she came over and hit me and said, "What the hell did you do that for?" I said, "Did you get his autograph?" She said, "No." See, this is poor marketing on my part. I should have told her,
creepy.
Get the damn autograph.
No, too creepy.
It's a UFO expo. I feel like most people would be creepy there.
That sounds like a pretty good time to me.
It actually was pretty cool. They had a lot of cool people come in. The guy from Fire in the Sky was actually there. And she heard, so during the same time, she heard that they announced that he was going to be doing a speech. And she didn't bother telling me. I didn't hear it. You
already said you were ready to go.
That guy got anal probed by aliens. That's the kind of shit that you want to hear live.
You want to look into his eyes.
Enter dogs into the dress-up contest, so it was time to leave.
The joys of partnering with your partner.
Let's talk about what time the UFO festival is.
Oh, it's always around the 4th of July.
4th of July? Okay, that's reasonable.
Yep.
You said it's Roswell?
Of course, you're not living in New Mexico.
Yeah, in Roswell, New Mexico. We do have a house there.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to have to get it fixed up. Yeah, we can work that out, hopefully, if I'm not working.
What's the weather like? Is there a herping opportunity in between?
Sure.
In July, it's pretty hot, so most things aren't moving, but we do have a couple honey holes we take you out to. We have found Selenops out there, lots of Atrox and Viridis, a few Cistruus, Catanatus, Edward's Eye, and coach whips and gopher snakes, lots of those.
I'd like to see a coach whip in the
Cool
wild.
invert. Oh, we
Yeah.
just caught one. Here.
We caught this Atrox yesterday that looks like it's anearthristic. It's just a baby, but it does not have any yellow or brown in it
It's
at
real
all.
silvery.
So
It's pretty wild.
we'll raise that up and see. We're hoping that it actually colors up to be a little darker as it gets older, but we'll raise it for a while and see how it turns out. We'll do a video on it. It's really beautiful.
That's awesome.
So the coach whips that you guys are coming across down there, are they the pink phase, or what color phase do you find him?
Mm-hmm. Oh, in New Mexico, yes. Not here where we are now.
We actually have a coach whip. I'll go see if I can catch it. The pink ones are really down in Big Bend, further south of us. You do get the pink ones occasionally in Roswell, but they're more prevalent down in Big Bend. Let me go see if I can catch this guy.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So, what other species are you guys working with reptile wise, Marita? I know you guys have like a ton of great stuff.
Yeah, we do. We like to dabble in crocodilians, monitors. We have some amphibians, quite a few inverts, some small mammals. I'm waiting for my miniature horse to foal out. I don't know when she's going to go into labor. Hasn't happened yet. Let's see. Mainly snakes as far as reptiles go. Oh, look how cute that is.
But he's not a nice pink one, which he might color up as he gets older. See if I can get a light on him.
So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to put it up to the screen and not move for like 15 minutes because you're skipping a beat every once in a while.
Oh, dang.
Oh, yeah. That's a great shot right there.
Little.
It's still small. Coach whips get big.
Oh, yeah. They're good size.
They can get 6-7 feet. I just pulled him out. He was laying out at my work and had a lizard in his stomach. And I thought I'd bring him home just because he looked kind of cool. But I don't know that I want to start getting a coach whip converted. So he's going to go let him go. But there are plenty of coach whips. We haven't actually seen a lot this year.
No, we haven't.
Most of the time when you see him, you just see the ass end of him heading 17 miles an hour down on the side of the road. But there is a spot over there where we've seen the pink ones more frequently in Roswell.
So what reptiles are we keeping other than snakes?
We've got red ear sliders, alligator snapping turtles. We bought some frogs at the NARBC that are just morphing out, and I'm not sure, but they don't look like White's tree frogs, so I'm a little worried that they're not. I'm thinking they're just green tree frogs. We'll have to raise them up to see because I've never morphed those out. We do horn frogs. We've got a few. Pixies. Yeah, we've got a few species of lizards. We got bearded dragons.
Oh yeah, some geckos.
And we have some other animals that we can't talk about yet until we get our licensing. And you saw them at Earl's, if you know what Earl has.
Yeah.
What else do we keep?
I didn't think of.
So bearded dragons. We do some cutted tortoises.
Oh yeah.
Our Aldabra actually did not survive our trip out here, which we had him for about 10 years, 12 years, and that sucks. But basically, if it's beautiful or cool, we keep it or have kept it.
Yeah.
The next big thing we'll be getting into is probably going to be the albino iguanas, the green iguanas, and cyclura iguanas. We did dart frogs for a while, but we couldn't keep the fruit fly cultures going, so we lost our entire. We had like 8 species, and they were reproducing.
Yeah, even albinos, which is really cool because their tadpoles were translucent.
Wow.
Really neat. See the little hearts beating, and we had all these beautiful bioactive vivs with rain chambers. It was awesome.
But fruit flies are a bitch. They're the devil of dart frogs because they're
I
hard to maintain.
cannot keep them alive. But okay, here's the other thing that hates me that will not live for me no matter how I love it. Plants. I cannot keep any plants alive to save my life.
I knew that. I heard that before.
It's a bummer. I love them a lot, and they don't love me back.
Go ahead,
I'm
Dave.
growing plants here, though.
Say again, buddy.
Has your boss?
I'm getting a little movement over here. I don't see anything yet, but I can hear it.
So, Dave, you're about to say something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna tell her she's probably just buy artificial plants. Let's not worry about that.
I do.
So, you know what Dave is really, really good at and really into is herping, and you guys do a good bit of it, and you did it in New Mexico, I know. And so, do you guys have any fun herping stories that you want to maybe talk about, or a time where something didn't go the way you planned it to? I did get a herping tip from you for YouTube is to video a hole in the ground, and people love just watching to see if something comes out of a hole. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, that's kind of like that porn thing, though.
Yeah.
But one time I was out with a friend of mine, and we caught a vinegaroon, and it was a good night. We were catching centipedes and tarantulas. We caught a couple bins, and one of them, I went to go put it in the container in our backpack where we're keeping them, and it disappeared. So I jumped in the truck, and we're driving down the road, and all of a sudden my neck starts itching, and I reached back there and grabbed that vinegaroon, and it scared the living shit out of me. I screamed like a girl. That was lots of fun.
There was another time when we were out. It might have been by like the Langtree area. We were collecting a bunch of millipedes and hadn't learned that they release cyanide. So when you're in the car with like 10,000 millipedes and they're all releasing cyanide, things can go a little sideways. So that was a fun adventure.
The very first night that we went out herping together was before we even really started dating. I had her driving, and I don't know why. So I could jump out and catch snakes. That's why it was. And this is, I guess this is kind of our motto. So we get out there and we see a snake, and I stop, and she stops, and I run out, and it's nothing exciting. So I jump back in the truck, and we got to back up a little bit, and we had just seen that a stop sign had gotten knocked over, and she runs over the base of the stop sign and flattens our tire. Boy, I was mad that night. So I spent the night changing the tire on it. And then about 2 years later, we're out at a place called Desert Sands, which is beautiful in New Mexico, and New Mexico milks can be found there. We were out there hunting for what are those things called? Those beetles.
We were at
Jerusalem
Mescalero
crickets.
Sands. Oh yeah, those
Jerusalem
are cool.
crickets. And so she pulls off the road for whatever reason, and it's all sand. And all of a sudden, the van starts going down, down. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she slammed on the brakes, and that thing just sank all the way to the base of the frame.
Yeah, that was fun because guess who had to hitchhike and go beg for rides?
So yeah, she pulls over some guys that have like a big old heavy duty truck, and they got us out that night. And it just seems like most of our adventures in the wild that we remember that, because nothing else really stands out when you're herping. Once in a while you'll find a key animal. But.
So here's a funny one. So we had this Chihuahua for a long time, and she was one of the kids' dogs, and she was starting to get kind of old and fat and senile and blind and deaf. And so we were hunting the Chiricahua Mountains, like at the Arizona-New Mexico border. And we keep a couple dogs at a time usually. And so they like to road trip with us. And so sometimes they kind of want to jump out and look around. But so that was a Chihuahua named Lady, but we called her Pig, Miss Piggy, because it was pretty much her first love. And so she would like to stay in the car and just sleep through the whole thing. But she she enjoyed the ride. And so we jumped out. We were looking at some stuff, and the car was just in the middle of the road, and all the doors were open. And we jumped back in, and he says, "Do we have all the dogs?" So I look around, and there's a lump here and a lump there, and someone wiggling around. Yep, got everybody. So we drive off, and a little while later, Anton wakes up, which she was his dog, and he says, "Where's Piggy?" Because he's like 6 years old. And I said, "She's right here." And I reached next to me, and it's a backpack. And I'm like, uh-oh. So we turned on the lights and do a head count, and she's definitely missing. And so I was like, go back, go back. So we'd been driving for about 45 minutes, and we raced back. And that idiot is standing in the same spot in the middle of the road, just like, just waiting. And thank God she hadn't been run over. Probably a couple of cars have driven over her, but she was little. And so we got her. We got her back. And luckily she didn't move around a whole lot. But
we also met Dick Bartlett one time down in River Road in Big Bend. He was herping with Gus. I don't know the guy's last name. I didn't know him, but he was. I don't know if you know who Dick Bartlett is. He used to write all the books for Barron's, and used to do a article in Reptiles magazine every month, and it was pretty cool to meet somebody like that. I had met him at a show in Orlando when it was still the big show back in 96, 97. And he had lost a lot of weight the last time I saw him. But we met one of our good friends one time. This is when we were in Colorado. We were out hunting, and we knew his vehicle, and we were just getting ready to get in our car, and he comes up like 90 miles an hour and slams his brakes, puts his brights on, and just stares at us. And he took off, and he just takes steps on the gas, backs up, and takes off. So like a year ago, we were talking to him. I said, you motherfucker, you just about tried to run us over one time. And told him the story. Said, "Oh, that was you." And who else? We met somebody else. Oh, we were. So that's the same guy. We were supposed to go herping in Del Rio one time. So this guy will not carry a phone. I mean, when he goes out, he doesn't want to talk to anybody. So we end up running the road because we couldn't find him. He said, "Well, just meet us. We'll meet up." And we pull over on the side of the road. And this guy pulls up and asks how we're having for the night, because everybody kind of talks, to see how the night's going for everybody. And we said, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but somehow somebody came up that they knew somebody from around where we were, and we said, "Oh, is it this guy?" He said, "Let me pull over the car." And he pulls over, and he bitches about this guy for like an hour and a half. And come to find out, he was herping with the guy that we were supposed to go down and be visiting anyway. So he shows up, and we stayed up till 4 o'clock. We ended up going to Denny's, and it was a good night. There was another time. So in New Mexico, there's a small mammal called a ringtail cat. And they look kind of like a lemur or something. And they're kind of, I don't know, they're like as big as a very large squirrel, but they've got the long lemur tail. And of course I wanted one. I wanted to see one at least. And so one time we were out, and he says, "Stop, there's a ringtail cat." So I slam on the brakes. He jumps out. He grabs it, and I don't know what I was doing, parking the car or something. He says I take too long to get out. So he grabbed that thing by the tail. It was in a mesquite bush, and that thing turned around and started crawling up its own tail to gnaw itself free, and he let it go. And I never got to see the thing. So that reminds me of your opossum story. I've done that before with mammals, and I prefer snakes. I'd much rather mess with a rattlesnake than a mammal because I don't want rabies.
Yeah, I've grabbed quite a bit of mammals in my day. If the herping's bad, you got to do something. Louisiana, I grabbed a raccoon, which I've talked about in here before. That was pretty awesome. I thought it was a baby because their eyes are so close together. So I was kind of beaming it, and I was all like, yeah, it doesn't look that big. And they're like, grab it. And I'm like, okay. After a couple of grab it, and I pulled that fucker out of the reeds, and it was a full-blown raccoon. It couldn't get me. I held it for a little bit, and then we just kind of dropped it and ran away. But I also got a possum that day and an armadillo.
Yeah.
How did you catch the armadillo? Because I am dying to catch. We've seen one, and I thought it was just cool. It was running around my feet, and then I turned my phone light on so I could get a closer look at it because I was going to catch it, and that damn thing took off like a rocket. How did you catch the armadillo?
Well, so the thing is that they're practically blind. Now, if you have them in front of the car and you keep your lights on and you walk towards them, but don't step in front of the light so they don't see your shadow, you're good to go. Really, I usually catch them when I'm just out and about road cruising. And again, I just come in the long way, make sure the light stays on the whole time, and then just grab them. But two things. Leprosy, I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's a chance. Next, they fucking start spinning on you immediately. So if you got a glove on, you're good. Otherwise, they just start spinning to the point where they just shoot right the fuck out of your hand. Also, your hand can get cut while they spin. So I recommend a glove and light.
Well, I've heard two things about armadillos. One, my mom said she used to eat them all the time. She never got it.
Leprosy.
Leprosy
is not my favorite disease.
And two, Earl Jones says the secret to catching them. This is Earl Jones from Lone Star. He says if they ever start digging, what you do is you get behind them and they root down so hard that you can't pull them out of the ground. So you stick your finger up their ass, another anal story, and they'll come out just like butter.
Okay. I mean, is the asshole that big?
I haven't got to experience the asshole of an armadillo yet, so I don't know.
I don't want to do it.
I gotta call Earl right now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fact check that story before we actually air this episode. Yeah.
Well, if you can find out for me, I'd surely appreciate it.
Hey, I'm not the ass man. We talked about it. I am the anti-ass man. I'm not your guy, buddy.
Oh yeah. You're more afraid of ass than leprosy, huh?
Well, let's just say this. I'm about afraid as leprosy as I'm afraid of corona. I believe it might exist, but I'm not really buying it.
I know it exists, but I don't think it's. I think for the most part, it's not as bad as what the government wants us to do. So another conspiracy theory that I heard about that, which I think came from somebody we just recently talked about, Earl, is that once the election comes and goes, it'll probably just go away. It'll be magically fixed like the avian flu and all that crap.
Yeah.
I'm still worried about leprosy.
Well, this is in medieval times here. You don't have to worry about leprosy. I mean, I don't even really know what leprosy does. I keep on hearing people talking about it. I'm not willing to Google it. Hey,
it's not an attractive disease, I can tell you that.
Well, it causes necrosis of your tissue.
Okay.
So the tissue just rots away.
Okay. So is that common?
If you have leprosy, it is. That's why they had leper colonies, because it spreads pretty easily, and you've got all these people stinking because this necrosing tissue actually does smell pretty bad. You smell the dead rat. That's what a human body smells like when it's rotting away, even when you're alive.
No, this is a horrible story, man.
I don't know if I want to show these pictures, man.
Yeah, just show the worst one and just get it over with. Just make sure there's no private parts.
There's no private parts, I guess.
Okay, just bring it up really quick. I'm going to look away. Just do a number, count to 3, and we'll look away.
All right. I'll give that a whirl, I guess. It's not a... See where it's deteriorating. This guy's...
That's the worst picture?
Well, I mean...
No, don't do kids. No kids, man.
Not trying to look at kids. I don't know.
All right, what about that guy's back? Let's look at that guy's back.
All right.
Yeah, that's not that bad. I can deal with that. Can you zoom?
That's not a good picture. Can't zoom any more than that.
Ugh. So this kills you?
Looks like
I don't know anybody that's ever had it, so I'm not sure. It is treatable now. It's called Hansen's disease is the name of it.
Yep.
And they actually have, I don't know if all types can be treated or just most types. The problem the reason it's in third world countries is the medicine isn't there. In America, you'd probably just take some antibiotics for a while and you might lose a finger or two and call it good.
And go
So
armadillo hunting again.
Yeah. So my problem is I'll probably wait until a finger falls off before I make that first phone call to get help. And it might be a lost cause at that point.
That I don't know. We do know somebody that told a story about a copperhead bite that did that. He wanted to go herping that night, so he decided to just tough it out till he was done. And he ended up losing his finger because of that. So
he wore it on a necklace for a while, but
no, that was a different dude.
oh, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Alex.
Oh,
You told that in your live interview.
oh, I totally remember that. Love you, Alex.
No, there was a guy, the guy in Copper's Cove, Texas. I cannot think of his name, but he was a holistic guy. Marijuana and the native Indian gods could cure anything. So he gets bit by this Atrox and decides to treat it at home by himself. And it gets so necrotic and infectious that a bone from his thumb actually pops out. And
He just pulled it loose.
yeah, so at all the shows, he
Was it his
carried
thumb?
that in his, yeah, it was his thumb. He'd carry it in his pocket so that he could show you the bone that had come out of his finger.
I thought he had it on a little, on a
He
necklace.
might have for a while. But
Keith.
yeah, Keith. That wasn't. He died of a heart. That didn't even kill him. He died of a exposure or something.
Like
It was really hot.
sunstroke or
Yeah,
something weird.
but he was an interesting guy. He had some really exotic stuff. He's the one that taught me that centipedes out of Oklahoma are way worse than the centipedes from Roswell, New Mexico. I thought he was full of shit, and then I got bit. I've been bit by a lot of centipedes,
That was a good bite.
and I got bit by one out of Oklahoma, and I thought I was going to die. It was made more painful than the Western Diamondback bite. I cried.
He was stomping and cussing and making these crazy sounds, and we were just like, okay. And you called me a wuss.
Well, yours wasn't a
It
Oklahoma
got me a
centipede.
bunch of times, and I didn't stomp or cry. I just said, like, damn, that really hurt.
You're tougher now.
So-
What can I say?
You know what your guys' problem is? You guys need a safe word for when you go herping, apparently.
We don't quit till we get leprosy.
Yeah. See, if there was a safe word, when he started really panicking, you'd have taken him serious. But you just don't know when.
I guess. So what should our safe word be? Handlebar mustache? Is that 2 words or one?
Kookaburra is a good one.
So
like
from
that.
experience,
Is that your safe word?
yeah,
Kookaburra.
I can go for kookaberry. You want to keep it simple, guys. You got to remember when it's time to say a safe word, it's a pretty hectic moment there. So if you got something a little too complex, you might forget the word. 4 letters or less is the safe way to go.
Kookaburra it is.
My safe word is generally, ow, motherfucker, it hurts. God damn it, don't ask me questions. It hurts. Quit asking me questions. Because that's the one thing she wants to do when something happens is
So I can fix
ask me a dozen questions, and all I want to do is focus on the pain and make it go away.
it, baby.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The safe word,
Yeah.
the safe word has to be something that's not common, though. You know, like it can't be just a normal
Yeah, I
word.
agree.
You're like,
Yes, but when
What
you're
I would
in agony,
recommend-
you have
Oh, what was that?
when you're in agony, do you have time to think about your safe word that isn't normal? Fuck seems to work pretty good for a word that I can think that can come to mind pretty quick.
I like
Other than
kookaburra.
that, I don't think
Kookaburra?
Abracadabra.
Oron would be a word that I could think of. That's not 4 letters, though.
Still like kookaburra.
You know what? So the thing is you can't pick these words that come up in regular day conversation. And don't forget,
Right.
I might play fake hurt one time. I might say the F word 5 or 6 times. You might not be able to take me serious. Boy who cried wolf over here.
Yeah.
I recommend your favorite cereal as a kid or your favorite candy bar, because that never comes up in conversation.
Yeah.
Sixlets.
Sixlets.
I'll be honest.
Do you remember
I
those?
don't think you're going to be able to get that out without stuttering in a moment of stress.
Sixlets
what's
are
your
good.
favorite? They're so good.
I don't have a favorite. Look at me. I like it all.
Yeah.
Your favorite candy when you were a kid?
Depended on the year. I mean, when I was young, candy bars were coming out. I remember
Back in the old days.
He's 80, by the way. For anybody that's not watching, if you're only listening, JD is 80 years old.
Ish.
We need 2 this summer.
what there were candy bars that came out, and I thought they were the shit till I ate a ton of them and got sick off of them.
Mars bars.
No,
Whatchamacallit?
whatchamacallit. I was there when whatchamacallits came out, and I thought it was the shit until I ate about 10 of them, and then I couldn't touch one again.
You know what I think of whatchamacallit is?
What?
It's the factory dump. It's like the poop of all the candy bar machines at the end of the day. They're like, just pull all those levers at once and all the nasty, crusty leftovers from everything. Just put it in that one wrapper and we'll just call it, well, I don't know, whatchamacallit. And then you ate it.
I ate a lot of them, but they're not good.
And the people that are into Clark bars are like, whatchamacallits?
I feel
No, my
like
dad is a big fan.
Yeah, Dave?
Oh, I was going to say, I think whatchamacallits, Heath bars, Clark bars, I think you just eat those once a year on Halloween. I don't think anybody ever buys those on the regular.
It's like a religious obligation. You just do it because it's what you're supposed to do. But my heart's never in it when I eat it, whatchamacallit. And I started doing this thing a while back, and he hates it. I don't want to eat something unless it's like really worth it. And so then he says I hate that food. I don't. It's just not worth it. So like, why bother?
Another thing she likes to do is likes to take a candy bar that she loves, which is like a Mounds or a what are those other ones that have
Almond Joy.
Almond Joy, and put it in the freezer so she can savor the day when she wants to eat it. Well, I'm a diabetic. My blood sugar low. I'm gonna eat that shit, and I don't love them, but I'll eat them. And our son loves the same candies that she does. So she goes to savor that, and after 6 or 8 months, she goes in there because she thinks she's got a nice little treat. That some bitch got eaten the day after she put it in there.
Yeah. That's what wine is.
Yeah, you got to work
for.
on a better hiding spot.
Yeah.
Armadillo bum?
I still want to try that. I think I will wear a glove, though.
You're going to end up giving me leprosy.
No. Not with a glove.
Back to that one.
feel like we've come off the rails. We've really gone many topics on this podcast.
Yeah.
Way out there.
And it's come full circle.
Yeah. Dave, are
So,
you bringing it
I got a question for you. You're from the central United States. What kind of herps do you catch around where you're at? When you go herping, do you go to other states or do you herp around where you live?
Well, I go herping at every reptile show that I go to during the year if the weather's right. We were in Nashville. We were in Nashville last week, and we did this great little road. We flipped 2 neonate cottonmouths, plain belly. We saw, I think, maybe 1 or 2 other cottonmouths, various salamanders, green tree frogs, numerous bugs that I don't understand or know anything about. After the Arlington show, we went road cruising. There was a group of us. Transpaco copperheads, one after another. Ryan McVeigh put us on the spot. Actually, he brought it up in one of the episodes. Where I'm at, I mean, honestly, I can literally go to my front yard and find speckled kings, lots of ribbons, garter snakes, black rats on the property, copperheads on the property. Oh man, we have prairie kings are on the property, earth snakes. We got a lot of shit out here, man. Tons of ringnecks. So many ringnecks, you get sick of them. But I've got a few
turtles.
Yeah, a lot of turtles too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have a great little spot right down the street from the house. It's about 5 minutes away. You can go canoeing on it. Our best day was Mike Schultz was in town, so I took him out on that. We found 28 cottonmouths, 4 different species of turtles, couple of water snakes, miscellaneous other stuff that we caught in the net. Missouri is probably one of my favorite states for herping right now, outside of Florida, because I'll be honest, I love all the invasive species in Florida. I find that very interesting. But here, I think in the state of Missouri, we have 28 different species of snakes. It's a real nice little melting pot. You know, being in that middle ground, it's kind of like your Snake Road, where we get a lot of northern and a lot of southern species. So kind of a little bit of everything here.
That's really cool. Yeah, West Texas has diverse species in this United States. You ever heard of Texas?
Oh, he just said they did when they were here in Ireland.
Yeah, but like Alterna. Have you hunted for gray bands?
No, my buddy does West Texas every year. I don't ever make it that far over. Houston and Dallas are the only shows I do down there. And when you have this many animals, I don't have the luxury of just kind of leaving and doing stuff. So honestly, I just try to revolve it around shows.
Oh. So you gonna go back to the show?
Oh, I go to a lot of the Arlingtons. Good barbecue, good. Well, the Transpaco spot was pretty cool, but I find so many copperheads. After a while, it gets kind of boring.
So you're saying that you're finding Pictogaster around Dallas?
Yeah, the spot that we went, I'll send you the pictures when we get done. It was about 45 minutes north of the show. Just a series of roads, just a nice little grid. You just do one of these, and yeah, we found, I think as a group, we found 9 of them, and that was over about 2 hours.
I didn't think the Transpacos got that far north. I thought those were Southerns or some other species. I didn't know that Pictogaster got that far.
Are you calling me a liar?
I'm saying I would love to learn about this secret spot because I love Pictogaster. I'd love to have a colony of them. I really like the species.
I'm going to get you some pictures. When we get done with this, I'll send you a message with some of the stuff we found down there. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'm not going to admit defeat or say I'm wrong. I'm 99.9% sure they were Transpacos until you said what you just said.
That is awesome. They're in places that only a few people know about. So I believe it. I'm just surprised that it hasn't reached the general public
common
in all this time. Yeah, because one of the things that people love to do in the state is document where they've caught stuff. We know that in our county, they found gray bands, they found Transpacos copperheads, they found Transpacos rat snakes, even Baird's rat snakes. But this year, we didn't see nothing. It was so hot and dry, there just wasn't much moving.
Oh,
plus time.
Yeah, Ben. So remember you told me you saw an owl at the show? Hey, that's my water. Get out of there. Quit.
An owl and a bird of prey.
So I had to go find the owl. Yeah, and then so did I tell you about when the owl met Jeffrey?
Oh, there was a giraffe, a guy dressed up like a giraffe, like Jeffrey the giraffe. Yeah, no, I didn't. What happened?
Did I already tell you about that?
No.
So when we went over to go interview those people, because everybody was looking at the owl, we're like, yeah, that's cool. The guy has an owl. So the big owl, his name is Pennywise, okay? So I'm like, yeah, tell me about, and then the other owl, the little one, who's actually, I think, older than Pennywise, but it was a smaller species. His name was like Muffin Top or something like that. And so anyway, apparently Pennywise has been an ambassador animal for a while. And you know, when you go to a show, sometimes there's people walking through dressed up like Jedis or Jeffrey the Giraffe, or depending on what's going on, you know what I mean? And so they always try to get Pennywise to take a picture with these different characters. So when they saw Jeffrey, because it wasn't like a really big, tall Jeffrey the Giraffe, when they saw Jeffrey walking through the show, they're like, oh yeah, let's try and get a picture of Pennywise with Jeffrey the Giraffe. So when we were getting ready to interview him, the Jeffrey comes walking by, and they're like, oh my gosh, do you guys mind? And we're like, no, that'll be cool. We'll just film Pennywise and Jeffrey like doing their thing. That owl was so afraid of that giraffe. He thought that the Jeffrey, the giraffe, the guy was going to eat him. That owl was so freaked out.
You realize that you're spoiler alerting Ben's interview that we did with him.
So something
Hey,
secretly
don't you worry,
funny
buddy.
happened.
Nobody listens to this show.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you guys are so okay. You can talk about whatever you want.
Well, go ahead.
No, you talk.
Ben hasn't got to see it because he's the one that actually told us about the owl. So I put that footage that she's describing over the top of him yakking, and it was pretty cool.
It's hilarious. Just wait to see it. It's so funny. It's so funny. I'll stop describing it because apparently that was a secret, but it was funny.
That's awesome.
Both you guys' interviews are already on YouTube.
Oh my God.
They're set to be published, and we're good to go.
When is David's coming out?
I can find out real quick. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
That one is going to be a good one. That one's
Ben, I love yours because you were in it and you are wonderful. But David's, yours was
exceptional.
It was quite comical, and I think people are gonna love it.
I hope they do because it was
be funnier.
Yeah, it's we talked about this before the interview. We all have that special person in life, and that special person to me is Chad Hulker.
Yeah.
We just work together really well, just really, really well. So I really hope to do more with Chad someday. Ben, you're great. Like she said, everything that she said, I feel the same way. But yeah, there's something special about Chad.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you guys are hilarious.
Well, that video, you guys were so quick on the stuff that you guys pulled out of your ass. It was absolutely awesome. I was laughing the whole time I was editing it because it was that good.
It was funny.
We actually, before we did it, we contemplated finishing each other's sentences, and we just didn't do that. But maybe next time.
Well, Ben, your video was very good. I got to do a little bit of your blue tongue. And one thing I want to talk to you about is every time she calls you a bear, you always seem to get embarrassed. How come? She calls me a grizzly bear. She calls you a teddy bear. And you always seem to be, you turn red when she calls you a bear. Why is that?
Is this one of those serious question talks? Prepared this banner just because I knew. No, I don't know. I've gotten called a bear when I was in Florida a couple times and a little groped by guys because they thought I was a bear. And
I was gonna say, so do you know what a bear is?
S?
No. So tell us what you know about being labeled as a bear, Ben.
yeah, I'm not. So they're big burly homosexual men, and I'm not that.
That's a gay term. I didn't even think about that. I meant a sweet teddy bear I just want to hug.
You call me a grizzly bear, so you think I'm a big
No,
homosexual
I forgot that was a
bear?
no.
Dave wants to talk.
Yeah.
I just want to clear this up for everybody really quick. So the problem that we have right now, and why Ben's so offended, is because a grizzly bear is a top and a teddy bear is a bottom. So
see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
you want to be a grizzly bear. Let's just say that.
Oh.
until you
Well,
don't.
When it comes to us, I'm mostly the teddy bear. So,
I'm not a gay man, so calling either of you a bear is not a gay reference.
I didn't know I was gay. I knew I was lesbian, but I didn't know I was gay.
I'm not going to elaborate on that.
Wow.
All right. So
You guys are fun.
we hit the 2 hour mark, and Dave is freezing. Is going
I'm freezing to fucking death out here, guys. It's fucking cold. I want you guys to see my breath. I can see my breath.
Yeah. You need to move.
No, right? All I got was a windbreaker and a cheap Jewish sweater.
I was gonna say all Jewish sweaters are cheap. But.
So, do you have any questions for us about the herps we keep or anything like that? I guess since we're getting ready to wrap it up.
Oh yeah, we're not doing that now, but that ship has sailed. Everyone's gonna get what they get on this one.
I had a great time. I think it's been fun.
Yeah, it was a great change of pace, man. I love the direction. I think we could have got weirder about it. I think we're definitely.
Anytime you want to go weirder, I'm the guy.
Okay. I like what I'm hearing here. Well,
one thing that we'll say, guys, is that we have some changes to our channel. We've just got a little bit of licensing issue, and
well, not an issue. We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and once we do that, there'll be some pretty exciting things showing up on our channel. Hopefully, people will find it exciting. There's some changes coming. We just, like I said, it's just a paperwork issue.
Yep.
Okay.
So new stuff coming.
As you guys know, you have the NARBC St. Louis show going on now. Until there's a Tinley, all we have is St. Louis. If you guys decide to come up, you'll be driving right by my house on the way. Feel free to stop by and say hello. I'm sure we could do some filming if you like.
I would love to do that. Yeah, I know you have an amazing collection, and I'd love to see it, let alone get to shoot some video of it.
That'd be awesome.
We'll have to try to plan a road trip sometime where we can do that, because I'd like to do that.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
So thanks.
Like I said, it's on the way. Say what?
Awesome.
I said, so Thanksgiving at your house then? We can only stay for 9 days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into Thanksgiving. I'm a great cook. So if you guys want to come up for Thanksgiving, we can't do any herping, but, the blue tongue stinks will still be awake and active. We don't shut them down until about the week after Thanksgiving. So things will be moving.
Well, unfortunately, I'm the only person at my job. My boss is, she lives an hour away, so it's a little more difficult for me to get time off.
Yeah.
I gotta try to plan everything a month in advance.
But we definitely start checking our calendars.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I mean, I'm pretty lonely up here. You just invited yourself up for Thanksgiving and then took it away just as fast. I appreciate that, honestly. That's cool. I'll send you pictures.
Well, you can tell by me that I appreciate good food, so I can't wait to taste your cooking.
Well, I peaked.
Well,
yeah, we really appreciate you guys coming on, and it's always fun. I really enjoyed meeting you guys. We've talked so many times and for years now, and then finally getting to meet you guys at last Arlington and having you on, it's been real great. So I know that the talk about the tarantulas is always insightful, and if anybody wants to check out the Deadly Tarantula Girl on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, I'll have the links in the description below. And also, you can always reach out to them and ask questions, or if you happen to feel Marita when she's in your town, you can just feel her there. You should text her and let her know.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, thank you. And anytime you write songs about me, just send them to me. That's fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do want to do a plug here. We're getting ready to start a podcast, and we'd love to have both you guys on that. We'll have to schedule it when you guys have some downtime, and we can make it happen, because you're both fascinating people, and I want to learn more about you. And it doesn't even have to be your private parts. We can just do the public parts.
And Ben, I think you're the sweetest, cuddliest, non-gay bear I've ever seen.
I agree.
Thank
in
you.
a non-gay way.
It's all good. It could be in a gay way for me. It's, I mean, I'm not gay, but I'm cool with it with you guys. It's fine.
And David,
You seem real
I don't know if
confident
you're
in what you're
frozen.
saying, but
Wow. It's amazing how you can just stay still. And I never know if you're frozen or just in the mode. But
I'm
you're
in the
awesome
moment.
too.
yeah, it's really funny. A cop car just drove by right by me, and I'm just sitting here with this flashlight on my face, hanging on this abandoned parking lot. He didn't even stop to say hello. He just kept going.
You were scaring him. You got to report a weirdo outside of the bowling alley. He's like, hell no, I'm not stopping.
You've been there so many times, Dave, that he's used to it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, man. I would have stopped, but that's cool. Okay, Ben, take us out. You know the routine.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button. And if you're listening to us, we really appreciate that. And tell your friends, tell your family, Herp House Rock. And, thanks, Marita and JD, for being on. Deadly Tarantula Girl. We got a great time. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.